Welcome back to the Ground and Pound Cast, boys and girls. Today we will discuss division jumping, penalties, pound for pound top five, and more. This will be a topic based pod. Nash Roy Damas is here, and we are ready to set the record straight about how we can fix the UFC and the way things should be. Roy, what you got?
Absolutely. You know it's going to be a good time when it's me and Rampaging Rick on the scene. Today, we are addressing one of the big issues that's come up, especially recently, as we've had two main events ruined by fouls. And oh my gosh, how is the UFC ever going to take care of this problem of people getting kicked between the legs and poked in the eye? They're going just short of biting nowadays.
Yep, it's terrible. We could jump right into it because these are two of my pet peeves, and I've mentioned it before, but now it's ruining big fights. We can't have it. Eye gouging, groin kicks. What do we do? Well, I got a couple of things here to say about it all, right? So, eye gouging, they say there's two different types there's intentional, which means you're disqualified, and there's accidental, which results in a no contest and a possible rematch. Anybody to me, who's seen and watched enough fights, or maybe even been in enough fights, should be able to tell you that when you watch Surreal Gone put his fingers in that man's eyeballs, knuckles deep, multiple times, and then one time he hits him where when he is knuckles deep on his right eye, Tom's right eye, his left eye is getting hit as well. I mean, all of these, oh well, this is a warning, this is a stiff warning. Stop it. No other sport does that. Either did it or you didn't do it. And if
Could
that's
you
the case,
imagine if the NFL started giving warnings? Hey,
oh
you're
my.
offsides. Do it again. We'll take 5 yards.
It's like playing with children, like when you have a basketball team of 3-year-olds and you let them travel all over the gym because you're not going to actually call it. That's what the UFC feels like. And to me, you're just disrespecting the sport. How can you have a sport with all of these rules, which there's 31 rules? So how do you have a sport with these handful of rules and yet you don't even enforce them? It makes zero sense. Fighter safety is disregarded. I don't know how you could be considered a legitimate sport if you don't enforce your rules.
It kills me that it's up to the judge's discretion whether something was accidental or intentional. How do you get more intentional than you've been warned twice to keep your fingers curled because you're going to poke someone in the eye, and then you poke them in the eye? The warning was, hey, keep your fingers curled. You're going to poke someone in the eye. Not, hey, you poked him in the eye. You don't do it again. We've got to start taking these scenarios seriously. And when a ref makes a call, it has to be the final call of it. If the UFC would enforce these rules, you would see a lot less people risking poking in the eye, risking kicking in the nads.
Yep, absolutely. I agree. And so with the eye gouge, to me, this is the way I'm going to score it. If you get hit in the eyes, that's an automatic point off. Automatic. Now, if you think it's intentional, then you can, of course, disqualify. If it's obvious, that's fine. Zero problems with that. But the first time's a point. But the second time is a DQ. Because again, fighter safety. Do we care about it or not? If you care about it and take it seriously, you can't allow somebody to repeatedly eye gouge, eye scrape. We've seen him in El Cape. You know, he had a fight where he just goes after a guy, after him, like open hands, just trying to maul him in the eyes. And it just was allowed to continue. You see it week after week now, penalties that aren't enforced. And now it has affected the biggest fight in the entire sport, the heavyweight championship. And it couldn't have ended more poorly. Nobody wanted that outcome. Whether you were rooting for Aspinall or Gone, nobody wanted to see a no contest. That's the last thing. It's horrible for the sport. We've got to address it. Now, the groin kick, as well as when I look at the point scoring with this, remove a point. Remove a point the first time. Second time, you could remove 2 points, or the fight could be disqualified depending on how bad. You know, we looked back, just last week, Kevin Holland, the second time he got hit, it should have been a disqualification, in my opinion. He couldn't go forward. He went the full 5 minutes. He went 5:15. And, what are your thoughts, sir?
Kevin Holland's a warrior for going through that. I couldn't imagine getting kicked that hard and then still trying to stand and fight while fighting through it. Now, yeah, at the point of a second time of fouling, you gotta be ready to either pull the trigger on a second point deduction or a disqualification. These things happen, but they're happening too often. Now, my question for you is what do you feel about someone who does what Surreal did in the first fight, in the fight with John Jones, where he not only eye gouged him, but he kicked him in the groin too? What do you do when you've got two separate fouls?
Well, if you have two, what I'm going to call personal fouls, just like in the NFL, they get out of the game. It kind of feels the same way. If you're a dirty fighter, just because it's a different category of dirty, it doesn't mean you're any less dirty. We need to remove the dirty fighters from the fights. And I'm going to go a step further. I don't believe oblique kicks should be allowed. I am not a fan of the oblique kicks. What happens is instead of winning a fight for the night, you have a situation where you could be winning a fight but ending another man's career. So again, if fighter safety is what's supposed to be in mind, how can you allow a guy to do that? Now, you can't kick the kneecap directly. That's a rule I read up on. But even still, if you kick right above that knee and you put all that pressure right above the knee, I mean, you're talking about ending careers. And so to me, that has no place in it.
So I don't know on that one because yes, it has a lot of risk, but so do a lot of the moves that fighters use. You should be able to defend against it. I get the only reason why I think that I would say, yeah, we should probably abandon it is because that particular kick, if you land it, the only intent of it is to do fight ending damage. And we don't allow, punches to the trachea for the same reason.
Yep, that's true. And I mean, it is fighting, right? And people want to see the action. People want to see it get a little crazy. But I just look down the road. If there's a guy you really like, say it's your favorite fighter, and then some guy just destroys his knee and he's never the same, maybe he doesn't even fight again. Or if he does, it's just not the same kind of guy. That's just a real bummer, when it could be
Yeah.
avoided, it's a bummer.
Yeah, and I agree with you. After thinking about it for a second, it isn't right to use something that's going to definitely end a career. If fighters went in there and instead of just pushing their submissions safely, they went ahead and ripped an arm off, we would be disappointed at the results of that.
We would. It's like having a favorite quarterback on a team, and they've changed the rules a million times to protect him. But it's true. If you're a Patriots fan, do you want to watch the Patriots without Tom Brady at quarterback? If you're a Saints fan, do you want to watch the Saints without Drew Brees? Like, of course not. You want those guys to be out there. That's what you want. You want to be entertained. These guys are doing it at the highest level. If they're getting their careers ended or altered, I just don't see that being a positive.
You know what the real shame is about the Saints? How
What's that?
many years ago did Drew Brees retire and he's still the most relevant thing about the team?
He absolutely is, man. He was a legend. You can't just replace Drew Brees, and it's showing.
I agree wholeheartedly, but the Saints are just on the struggle bus right now. I know this isn't an NFL podcast, but any chance I get to bash the New Orleans Saints, I'm on that train.
I'm not going to bash them, but yeah, they're going through tough times. Now, tell me what you think about fight activity. Just to jump into another subject here.
Okay,
Uh,
so this is an issue that is way close to my heart because when I like a fighter, I want to see them fight. And when it's a champion and they don't fight, it drives me out of my mind. I think that the rule, if you become a champion, I think first off, everyone should aim to fight at least 4 times a year. Just up the entire level of activity. If injuries or circumstances don't allow it, that's one thing, but you should aim to fight as much as possible, especially if you're in your prime. Make that money, right? But if you're a champion, I think that you should be uh, guaranteed 3 fights a year. You have to fight 3 times a year. And if you're inactive for more than 6 months, you should be stripped. The only time that I think that you should be able to get out of activity is with an injury. And if you're injured and you're stripped at the 6 month mark and they bring in a new champion, you should, when you get back from injury, you should be able to challenge immediately for your belt back because you are the rightful champion until you get beat. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
I got you. So we kind of align there. I think, you fight every 4 months, which is 3 times a year, to your point. But I would say keep that and keep it consistent. The 6 month idea isn't bad because some people do deal with stuff and they can recover and have enough time to get back into their next fight camp after they've healed. So I don't really have a problem with that. I just said every 4 months. And that way, like, hey, you're fighting in 4 months. And if you can't make the fight, we're going to strip you. Now, you would get the opportunity to get it back upon being healed, but not necessarily a given because you have to realize the dynamics are always ever changing. There could be a matchup that's presented that's bigger. At the end of the day, it is a money producing business. Dana White's going to look at things. Hunter Campbell's going to look at things from a monetary perspective. And maybe there's a boring champion. Let's just say Gelton Almeida was the champ and then he got hurt. And then you could have Alex Pereira versus John Jones. It's like,
I don't
well,
think anyone's ever said Jalton Almeida is the champion. You heard it here on the Ground and Pound cast first, folks.
if you had such a boring fighter that was champion, we've seen it with Bilal Muhammad. He won 11 straight fights. Then he got the championship. He loses a fight, and then it's just like he's so far in the rear view because nobody cares. Nobody cares. So I don't think you necessarily always get the immediate rematch, but you get a number one contenders match, worst case. You come back and beat another top five guy, boom, go get your belt back. But you have to reward the guys who are willing to fight every 4 months. If you keep a strict schedule, you will have more guys more active. I do believe that.
Well, I've always thought that it was ridiculous that when people make it to the big time, the UFC, their activity goes down because when you're coming up through the sport in the semi-pro and then, other professional circuits, you typically are going to fight every 2, 3 months. So I don't think that fighting 3 times a year is an unreasonable ask. Also, it would get the divisions moving and give more competition going towards the top of the division. I know the counter argument is that you'll have fighters fighting through injuries. They're fighting through injuries otherwise. Fighters need to be honest about if they're healthy enough to fight or not. And the UFC needs to be thorough enough in their medical, which I think they've been neglecting this, to know if a fighter's going out there with a broken frickin' set of ribs.
Yeah, you can't miss things like that. You can't look at an MRI and say, oh, it's a bone bruise when really it's a hairline fracture. You have to have proper medical staff addressing things accordingly. You have to make sure that you, again, protect these guys, right? I mean, they're going to go out there like we saw Kevin Holland and they asked, do you want to quit? And it's like, no, of course he's not going to say that. These guys have a different mentality. They're a different breed. That's what makes it special. You can't leave it in the fighter's hands. But okay, sir. So what are your thoughts on downed opponents?
All right. So the not kneeing a downed opponent in the head is a good rule. I fully agree with it. What we consider a downed opponent is severely flawed. If you have both your feet and a hand on the ground, you're not a downed opponent. You're manipulating the rules to get a positional advantage. If you're a downed opponent, your shin's on the ground, your butt's on the ground, your back or your chest or your side. I think that we need to amend the rules so that a downed opponent is a truly downed opponent instead of just 3 points of contact, which we see more often than not abused for no reason other than to get up from a bad position. And the fighters shouldn't be able to bend the rules because they're so uh, vaguely worded. Let's If you're going to get up from a bad position, get up from a bad position. This is having your hand down is just like waiting for the ref to say stand them up.
Yep, I agree. It's almost like the WWE's version of the guy who's getting submitted and he goes and grabs the rope so the ref will break it.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And to me, a downed opponent, I kind of define it very simply as if your belly button's touching the mat, if your butt's touching the mat, or if your hips and shoulders, meaning you're on your side, are touching the mat, you're downed. But all this, oh, I'm going to manipulate the rules to my advantage. I'm going to put a hand down so I don't get cracked with a knee. That's BS in my opinion. You can't reward, I'm not going to call it bad behavior, but misleading behavior. You can't just reward that. If this is a fight, let the guys fight. Get out of a bad position. If you're in a bad position, that's when you have to move. That's what creates action, and that's what everybody wants to see. So there's really no reason to go out there and do that from a ref perspective as far as, okay, we're going to go ahead and reward this guy for putting a hand down when he's getting worked on the fence or the cage. Come on, guys, do better. We got to do better than that.
Well, the reality is, if you're in a position like that in a fight, your smart move is to be intelligent and protect your head from the knee, not to reach down to the ground and pretend
Amen.
you're a downed opponent.
Amen. Yep, that's how I see that. That's to me, you want to have fun fights. And if think about it like this, if you're down and you got like you're legitimately down and somebody's about to knee you in the ribs or the face or whatever, your first thing you're going to want to do is stand up. And that's what they're doing anyway. So why get in the way? Why get in the way of a fight? Let it flow, let it be authentic. That's what we're here to see. So it's kind of my thoughts on that. Now, to jump into this next one, I think we're going to have some interesting opinions, maybe a little differing. But what do you think about division jumping? We've seen Dana allow it twice this year with Ilia Topuria jumping, Islam Makhachev jumping up, Alex Pereira is the next guy they're talking about jumping up. What are your thoughts about a champion jumping up versus just some random guy in the division? What do you think?
I think it's a necessary evil, but there should be requirements before you're able to jump divisions. See, Alex Pereira winning the belt and immediately saying, I want to fight at heavyweight, leaving the belt in limbo for however long until Dana potentially strips him or he decides to go back down is horrible for a division. The more inactive a belt is, and we've seen Dana is willing to hold on to a belt and a champion for way longer than is reasonable. But the more
John Jones.
inactive, yes, the more inactive a belt is, the more the division suffers. So, nothing against the guys that do jump division, but I think that there should be some requirements before you do. First off, clean out your division. At least clean out the top five and be there to defend the belt if someone new comes into the top five. Then, if you want to go to another weight class, go for it. No problem. You've cleaned out your division. You definitely earned your number one contender spot. Go ahead and move up. Uh, if you move up, you got to vacate though. I don't like the idea of two and three weight class champions. I know we haven't had a three weight class champion yet, but Pereira might get all three weight classes. We just don't know.
Maybe Taporia.
Taporia is another option, and then there's Patty the Batty
He could be a heavyweight champ for sure.
in the off season. So yeah, we'll see the return of Patty the Fatty, and he'll be taking on Tom Aspinall.
The Englishman. So
Yes.
I got a few thoughts as well. I don't like the jumping so much, and I think the UFC is kind of getting away from it in the fact that they're stripping these guys. Ilya isn't walking around saying he's champ because he's not. He had to give the belt back. Islam, he's not a champ at all right now. Why? Because he moved divisions and they stripped him. So I do think they're trying to get away from that, which is probably one decent way of kind of hedging towards not having people jump. You lose your belt. So I do kind of agree with that. But I say 4 title defenses. 4 title defenses or 10 fights in the division, whichever comes first. Now, we saw the meteoric rise of Alex Pereira, where I'd have to go back and look, but maybe he had 5 title fights before he had 10 fights in the UFC, which is crazy. But I say you have to do that. it helps clean out a division like you're talking about. I feel like if you win that title in that division 5 straight times, you've earned your keep. Hey, you know what? I want to move up. By all means, we want to see you move up because how good are you really? So I think there is something to it, but we don't need to see the guys who win a fight and say, okay, we're out, or win two
Now,
fights and we're out.
now, do you think when they move up after those defenses, they should be stripped or they should be able to hold the belt and move up?
No, you need to be stripped because there is nothing worse for the sport, and you just said it, than letting that title belt be idle. You can't have it. You have to have things flowing. Let's go ahead and get something set up right now if Pierre really wants to move to heavyweight. Like let's get Yuri and Olberg in there tomorrow. Let's figure that out. But we don't need to just hold up divisions. It's terrible. The heavyweight division's the least active belt by far and away. And when you look at it, what's the state of the heavyweight division? It's in shambles. So you have to have things moving. You have to have a belt going. That's why you get stripped when you move automatically. We all know, hey, he won that belt. We didn't forget it. Just because he's not walking around with 2 belts doesn't mean he's not that guy. But for the sake of the divisions, let's keep it moving. Let's keep putting people in there.
Absolutely. I mean, what has the heavyweight weight belt been fought for in the last 5 years? Three times, four
3?
times,
Yeah, something like that.
less than one a year. Absolutely absurd. And the division is in shambles as a result of it.
Yeah, if you don't have an interim belt set up right away, you're not doing it right. Do not hold up the divisions.
Yep. On the other hand, how many times have we seen Marab fight this year?
He's about to fight his 5th time.
Yep. And his division is phenomenal. It's the most competitive in the league.
Yep. Yep. Can't disagree. I think lightweight's right there. But to your point, yeah. I mean, we're talking about you got constant action in that division. And it's a division that not long ago wasn't all that interesting. It really wasn't. But with the rise of Marab and Sean O'Malley, and now we got Umar Nurmagomedov, who I believe is one of the best guys in the game. We just saw his skills on display. It's a lot going on. But the more that belt's fought for, the more interesting things become. You have to have that belt flowing, though, to keep things moving.
Yes.
All right. So when it comes to judges, what grinds my gears is 3 judges. I mean, why is it just 3? You think about different sports, right? You think about baseball. We're in the World Series right now, the NBA Finals. What are those? What are those contests? What do they look like? Well, they're best 4 out of 7. You could do an odd number all the way up to 1 million, but 7 should capture it. So if you got 4 out of 7 judges, professional trained eyes, 4 or more, I believe that's a good number. Now, coincidentally, the octagon's got 8 sides, right? And one side's got the steps and the cage where you walk in, the gate. But then you have 7 other sides. You put those judges on each side. Everybody's got a different angle. I think it works pretty well. And it doesn't have too many people sitting octagon side where it gets convoluted. They each sit cage side, and then they each have their own perspective. At the end of it, we come to a conclusion, and I think that's the best way to do it. I think that you're going to have more conclusive results. When you have 3 and one judge goes a little screwy, you get weird results. And just to eliminate some of the one-offs or the random judges who it's like, what are they looking at? I believe 4 out of 7 is a good number. What are your thoughts?
So MMA uh, is unique in that the judging is subjective. In baseball, if a home run is hit, there's points on the board. Because of how many people are on base. If a punch is landed, you don't know if it's a significant strike or just a jab, or if even the jab was significant because you're not in that judge's head. And different judges see things different way. Until we get a way that is objectively consistent all the way across for every competitor, and which is never going to happen, we need more judges on the panel with more eyes on the action to interpret what's going on. Personally, I think a 9 judge panel would be it. The Supreme Court of the MMA world, if you will. But with 9 judges, you've got enough eyes on it and enough points. The other thing is, I'm not really a big fan of the 10-point must system. I think that we should be able to. we should get a lot more 10-8 rounds. Not as many as Vince. Vince would label everything 10-8.
Well, of course.
But when Hamzat went in there and destroyed DDP, I personally thought that every one of those rounds was a 10-8, some even 10-7. If you had more judges, it would make room for a wider range of scoring, and it would also make penalties when you're for fouls more impactful because it spreads all of it across the entire spectrum.
I like that. I like that a lot. I have no problem with 9. Again, you get more people out there, and then you're going to be able to eliminate some of these kind of weird decisions that the UFC's had a lot of lately, to be quite frank. I do believe that, there's a lot of value in doing so. I don't really know why they wouldn't. Maybe it's just because it's always the way it's been done. But I think the best organizations are the ones that evolve with the times. And when you see there's a need for something, addressing it instead of just saying this is the way it's always been done, this is how we're going to do it. So we'll see if they move to that, because the last thing you want is bad decisions ruining your sport. I look at boxing. A lot of people don't like boxing because they feel like it's so rigged. You see fights. Francis Ngannou versus Fury is the perfect example. And granted, I'm a UFC fan first and foremost, but I thought Ngannou won the fight. But it's like, oh, it's boxing. Of course they're not going to give it to him. Unless he knocks him out cold, it's not going to happen. You don't want to be known for having bad judges.
No.
So yeah, I'm in agreement. Now this is actually my favorite, and everybody's got their opinions. And everybody's got their list, whether it goes 1 through 3, 1 through 5, 1 through 10. We all do it. We all say who are the best of the best. And so we've looked at the top 5. And I want to let you know this is the rankings that I have as of right now. This is the actual top 5 pound for pound list, not mine. This is what's been published. Ilia Topuria is number 1. Islam Makhachev, number 2. Merab Dvalishvili, number 3. Khamzat Chimaev, number 4, and Alex Pantoja, number 5. So when I look at this list, I don't even see an Alex Pereira, and I'm good with it. UFC at the top, maybe they don't have the biggest personalities. For a while, it took Merab to come around before people are like, oh, you know what? Maybe he's fun. We can get behind him. He's kind of different and quirky. We'll root for him. But it took a while, right? Islam, same thing. Islam doesn't have much to him, but at a certain point, the greatness is so overwhelming, you want to watch him more and more. Chimaev, he's kind of like that quiet killer. He's got that crazy look, but I don't know how marketable he is. Pantoja, same thing. But you know what they all have in common? They're all super elite. I mean, we're talking the highest caliber of fighter on earth. And so I was looking at their records. Chimaev, 15. So let me give you my list. I got Chimaev at number 1. We'll go ahead and get it out the way. And that may be a little interesting because he's number 4 on the list. But at number 1, this is why. Who would you pick at any weight to beat Chimaev? So if you're talking about a guy who's fought at welterweight, you're not picking anybody against him at welterweight. I can't see it. Middleweight, I mean, we just saw what he did in the championship fight. It was the most dominant championship victory of all time. I can't think of a close second. It was so impressive. Landed the most significant strikes. He had the widest variance of strikes landed. We're talking about a guy who, through 25 minutes just dominated. Maybe you give, the last couple minutes of throwaway time. Maybe you hand that over and say, you know what, maybe he didn't win that perspective of the fight to Dricus du Plessis. But 529 strikes to 45, 486 more than du Plessis. Domination, 10-8 rounds all around. I think the 5th round, like I said, maybe a 10-9. But he's my number 1 guy. Islam, I have it 2, 27-1. He's got 15 straight wins. He has 1 win behind the most wins consecutively in UFC history to Ty Anderson Silva. That's how good he's been. Ilia Topuria is 17-0. People don't realize this. He's got more submissions than knockouts, and we know how great he is at knocking people out. I put him at 3. Merab at 4. And Pantoja at 5. We talk about Pantoja. I think he's overlooked a lot. He's 30-5. He's got 8 straight wins. He's got 5 straight wins in title fights, 8 TKOs, 12 submissions. He pieces everybody up, and he's 5th. So that's my list. What do you have, sir?
All right. Well, we're gonna start out in agreement. I got Hamzat at number one.
All
He's
right.
dominant. He has the it factor when it comes to to being in the cage. He's going to find a way to get a victory, whether he submits you, knocks you out, or grinds out a win by holding you down. So far, we haven't seen anyone who can do anything against it. He's just next level, top tier. Number two, maybe a little controversial. I got Tom Aspinall. This guy is a master of the ground game, and we haven't seen anyone go to that level yet. I know we got recency bias going on after this last weekend, but he wasn't beat by Cyril Gahn by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. His nose leaked a little bit. They were neck and neck in significant strikes. Every strike was a significant one, and there was a lot of fight left before that eye poke. So I haven't lost any of my respect for Aspinall, and I expect that he belongs at the top of the pound for pound list. Next up, we got Marab. It's just undeniable. Marab is a phenom. He's torching through absolutely everybody who steps up, and he's doing it at a record pace. I love Marab, especially for his activity. After that, we've got Islam. Islam versus Marab would be an interesting fight, but Islam is great. And then the last one, I know you're going to laugh at this, but it's Patty Pimblett.
Oh, okay. All right. That's very different than my list then.
You do know why, right?
I'm assuming you're thinking he's going to fight Taporia and beat him.
Yep. Right after the first of the year, first Paramount card, Patty versus Ilya, and Patty is going to wreck him.
Wreck him. Wow. That's a hot. Your list is interesting. It's hard to really argue with it in a lot of ways, especially if you think that's going to happen. I've seen nothing from Ilya to make me think he's not going to just run right through Patty Pimblett. First round knockout. That's my prediction, but I don't really know much.
Patty's fight IQ is a lot higher than people give him credit for, and I guarantee he's spending every day after that fight's announced poring over tape, looking for every hole he can manipulate in Ilya's game. Not to mention, Patty has a significant size advantage over Ilya.
That I believe is the most underrated aspect of the whole fight because we're going to talk about a guy in the octagon who's probably every bit of 25 pounds heavier than Ilya. Ilya is a featherweight who has moved up. Patty is a heavyweight who's moved down.
Yes. And that's going to make a massive difference in this fight. I love Patty, but he is a weight bully.
Oh, 100%. There's never been a better case or example. But I don't blame him. It's like he said in one of his videos. He could walk around with a six pack all the time, but who would want to do that? That's miserable. He likes pizza. He likes to eat. And as somebody who likes to eat and fellow foodie, I can respect and appreciate that. Patty Pimblett's very skilled. He's a guy who could take him to the mat. Of course, we know Ilya's well versed everywhere. He's jiu-jitsu black belt himself. But Patty's weight advantage is definitely something to keep in the back of your mind. I just think Ilya's power and I think his defense is going to prevent it from going to the mat. And I do think if he connects with Patty's chin, he connects with just about anybody's chin. I don't care if he's 5'7", 155. That man has dynamite. It's just a different kind of power when you see him hit people. And the thuds you see or hear on those videos, man, he's really, really special. But we'll see. We'll see. I think it's interesting that we both agreed on Chimaev, considering, again, he wasn't even in the top three. I just think he's undeniable. Maybe he doesn't have the resume quite yet of an Islam or a Marab, but again, who's going to beat him? And he wants Alex Pereira. He wants to move up to light heavyweight potentially. And I don't see anybody giving him much of a slowdown in that division either. I don't see anybody really beating him. And that's why he's my pound for pound number one.
Well, I mean, when you talk about his resume, you say it's like he hasn't beat anyone. He beat Whitaker, he beat Holland, he beat Usman.
Destroyed them.
Just
Yes.
yeah, he didn't even get pushed until I guess the closest to getting pushed would be Duplessis because it went 5 rounds.
Well, he did have that Gilbert Burns fight that was an absolute war. That is one of my favorite fights of all time. But that's when he was coming up. He was at welterweight then. Now he's at middleweight. He's more of a natural weight class for himself. And you're right. Nobody's slowing him down.
Now, who I want to see Hamzat fight is Sean Strickland. Not because I think that Sean can beat him, but because Sean has talked so much smack about being able to out wrestle him. I think that would be just put up or shut up time. And I've never seen Strickland have to resort to, wrestling.
I would love to see him wrestle. From all accounts, he is an extremely good wrestler. He is one of the best from what I've heard. But I'd like to see it because Chimaev, granted, I don't follow actual wrestling, but I have to believe Chimaev's probably pound for pound the best wrestler on earth. I'd have to. I mean, I don't know. Maybe somebody from the wrestling community could correct me, but the way he ragdolls these guys that are specialists in wrestling, specialists in grappling, it's just different. It's just different. Ask Duplessis about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Chimaev has really he has moved up quick. I'm sitting here looking at his record. Yeah.
Yeah, he had. Well, when he first started, he had a couple fights in like 10 days. That really kind of put him on the map. And of course, he won those both. 5 out of his first 7 fights, he didn't take a strike. I remember when Rogan was talking about his first 4 fights, he didn't take a strike, and then competition increased. But think about like the Gerald Meerschaert fight. That's a one-punch knockout. That's a
Yeah,
15-second fight, and that's not him wrestling. That's not him taking him to the ground. He just straight up knocked him out with one punch. Chimaev's the scariest human in all of UFC.
absolutely.
Well, Roy, did you have anything else you want to cover, sir?
Yeah. Let me look at my list here.
Okay.
I
I think
think
we're
we may have
getting
said it enough, but the big thing I want to emphasize out of this is that we need to penalize fouls when they come about.
Amen. If there's something that's going to be a foul, just, enforce the rules. What a
Yeah.
concept.
I guarantee you will see a lot less eye pokes, and nut shots if every time it happens, it's a point, and if you repeat it, you risk losing the fight. People won't go for that kind of risk, and you won't have dirty fighters like Gon out there doing these things in title fights.
Yeah, and if you have multiple dirty penalties, you just need to be out. We need to weed out the dirty, and we need to promote the people who do it the right way. We all want to be able to see these guys fight. Who didn't want to watch Aspinall and Gon go 5 rounds potentially? We all did. We wanted to see a great fight. How long has it been since we've seen a great heavyweight fight? And it gets ended because of this nonsense. If you enforce the rules, it never goes this way. Shame on them. They should do better. UFC should do better. Enforce your rules.
Me personally, because the first three heavyweight fights of the night, it, I don't want to take anything away from Volter. He did phenomenal, but the fights were lackluster. Volter far outclassed Ham. Was it Hamdy?
Yep, Hamdy.
No, Hamdy fought the Chocolate Peppa Pig.
You're
Who
right.
did Volter fight? But not important. He far outclassed him. So they were lackluster. When I got to the main event, I had built up in my head this was going to be the ultimate fight. And then it started, and it was so good. They were landing, they were moving. Both guys had a smile on their face, and then one had a finger in his eyes.
All the way in his eye. Yeah,
Absolutely destroyed it.
anybody that's calling Aspinall soft needs to really reevaluate things. Look in the mirror. If you had somebody knuckles deep in your eye socket, are you really going to complain when this killer's on the other side of you? He's a heavyweight at that, and you just, oh, what would you do? You have one eye. Would you want to keep going if you can't see out of your other eye and somebody's trying to bash your brains in? Be real, guys. Come on now.
No, and he had way too much to lose on the line. You go out there half blind and lose your heavyweight belt, you're literally talking about millions of dollars in potential earnings.
Yeah, because these
Just
things
to be
change.
seen as a badass, that
Yeah,
doesn't add
the,
up.
these things change quick. We know how it is. You let somebody lose one fight, and the luster is all but gone. Look at Sean O'Malley. He was so hyped, this, that, the other. He fought Marab, and then he couldn't even dye his hair anymore. He was so depressed. And he's just kind of an afterthought. He's a guy who's good, who'll be in big fights. He's a big name. He's a striker, but he doesn't have the same pop. And that was really just because of one guy. One guy kind of stole all of that from him. It can change quick. So, yeah, it'll cost you millions in earning potential, and it needs to be taken serious. But, yeah, that's all I got for today, folks. This has been Rick and Nostroidamus. Until next time.